Hello, everyone. We are going to start with the first live session of Advanced Performance Management. I hope I'm audible. Right now, only we have only one student with us because again it's end of December, so probably people are busy in some Christmas activities or something. So, can Kibonoi, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Uh, are you there?
Hi,
Hi,
how
how
are
are
you?
you?
I'm
Good,
good,
good.
ma'am. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so what is the basic purpose of today's session is I'm not going to teach anything, right? I'm going to tell you how to write the answers, right? Because of course APM has a basic etiquettes of attempt how to attempt the question, right? So since this is the first session, I chose two topics which are extremely easy, which are easy topics, not extremely easy because anything can be difficult in paper, but these are some easy topics so that you can try to focus on how to write the answer, right? So that is basically the objective of today's session, to tell you how to write the answer and what how to deal with the marking scheme, because marking scheme is extremely important in APM paper, right? So this is the objective of today's session. So we are going to start with today's session. Okay, so we are going to start with today's session, but before starting today's session, I just want to have a quick overview of just-in-time management system and total quality management, because these two topics are examined in this question, right? So just-in-time management system, generally students know that this is a demand pull costing system, production system. Like there are two options. The first option is that you can have just-in-time production. You can have just-in-time purchasing, both, right? So just-in-time production means that we will produce when there is a demand, right? Just-in-time purchasing means we will purchase when we need raw material, right? So of course there are some do's and don'ts with JIT. Not all companies cannot follow JIT system. Like if a company is importing raw material from another country, definitely they need to carry some closing stock, right? They need to carry some inventory. Or if your material is highly susceptible, it can, it's very delicate, so you need to carry some extra inventory, because you know that your raw material can get damaged very easily, right? Apart from that, there are a few things which we need to look at. So there should be a close relationship with supplier. This is generally the case when if we are buying it locally, if we are sourcing it locally, then local material can be sourced at a very short time. So in that case, you can have a close relationship with suppliers so that they can make sure that materials will always be available for the company whenever we require them, right? But in case we are importing raw material, JIT is not possible, right? Uniform loading for efficiency. If you're in the sense that, for example, if your requirement changes or if your efficiency changes or if demand side changes, so if there is a continuous shift, then probably GIT can be difficult or can be easy, but depends. If you can communicate those requirements, those changes with the supplier, then it makes sense. If you think that production can be a little bit inefficient, or there can be some instability in demand and purchasing, then you should follow the traditional system. You should not focus on GIT. Simplification of production process means that you have less losses, right? Machine cells, in the sense that if you have more machine related things, then you can follow GIT, right? Quality is extremely important in just-in-time management system, and quality in the sense that if you believe that you can produce a well quality product, a good quality product without losses, GIT will be more relevant. If your product is subject to a lot of losses, lot of bad product, then of course, let's suppose that there is a 10% loss, and uh, you think that losses may increase, and of course you need raw material on urgent basis to fill up that capacity. So quality is most important, and we will discuss total quality management later, right, when we will start part B. It's a pull system. Whenever there is a demand, we purchase the raw material Preventive maintenance, in the sense that whenever you think that preventive maintenance is actually related with TQM, but if you believe that you can probably control the losses, in that case, you can follow GIT. As I said, that quality is extremely important. Employee involvement is extremely important. You should tell employees that, look, we are moving towards GIT system. Just in time management means that we have to be on toes that whatever product we are producing is good quality. We are not supposed to have losses. Procurement should be procurement should be the part of your process. So everyone who is relevant to GIT should know that the company is following GIT, including the top management. Top management in the sense, because if your management doesn't agree that they will follow, that the company will focus on GIT, of course the company, you won't be able to have those processes which will help the company to move to GIT. For example, if you want a just-in-time management system, you want a quality product. For the quality product, you need machinery, a good quality of machinery, maintenance, regular maintenance of machinery. You need to have employees on board, laborers on board. So everything has to be connected. And you can only deploy resources if you can deploy resources, if you have the capacity to spend money. Only in that case you can follow the idea. And of course, top management has to be involved in this. Continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is not that relevant in this case. We can skip this. We can discuss this with later. And process simplification is, again, if your process is simple, you can have a good quality product. If you have complicated process, technically losses are there. So what are the overall challenges in GIT? Generally employees, this is something which is a part of lot of things, lot of changes, that whenever you try to have a different system, your employees generally resist, right? So you need to make sure that employees don't resist. You need to make sure that whatever the implications of GIT is, you should communicate with the employees, right? Leadership must champion the change. As I said, leadership has to be the part of your change, right? If you are moving towards GIT system. Um, Supply chain vulnerability. So if you are trying to make sure that you are buying raw material from just simple 2 or 3 suppliers, or you are trying to lean it down, because you cannot afford to have 10 or 12 or 15 suppliers, because in that case you have to take care of every supplier. You can have GIT with a focused strategy to have 2 or 3 major suppliers, so that you can be sure of communicating them only. You don't need to communicate to 15, 16 suppliers. And again, supplier relationship is extremely important. So GIT is a very simple concept. Its basic focus is that we are not going to keep the excessive inventory. We are going to have a little inventory, and we will try to have every process in place which is going to help us, whether in the form of employee efficiency, whether in the form of quality, whether in the form of machinery, whether in the form of resources, whether in the form of support. We should have all these things in place, right? So we are going to start with a very simple question, right? But before starting with the question, let's read the requirement, because that is the most important thing. Now, what is the requirement? Requirement says that it is now 1st September 20x5, and you are supposed to respond to the CEO's request for the work on the following areas. The introduction of GIT system. Now, the most important point in this case is the introduction. Now, why this is important? Because whenever the company starts anything new, whether company is implementing GIT, whether the company is implementing TQM, whether the company is implementing ABC, whenever company starts anything new, you have to start with a definition. Your answer should start with a basic definition of the concept. It generally earned 1 mark, right? So since we want to introduce GIT system, out of 13 marks, 1 mark is definitely for the definition, because this is the first time we are going to do this, right? And then introduction of GIT system and the cost of quality changes, that is for 7 marks. So out of 13 marks, 1 mark is for the definition. So we are left with 12 marks, right? 12 marks means what? 12 marks means that you have to cover at least 6 points, right? When I'm saying you have to complete at least 6 points, what do I mean by this? Because each point will have 2 marks. So basically, what we do is we 1 mark is generally for the identification of the point, at what point you are covering, what point you have identified, right? Let's suppose we are talking about a problem. So what sort of problems you have identified? And plus 1 mark is for the justification that why this point is important for the company, what benefit company will have in case company do this, or in case company ratify this, how it will going to benefit. So you have to justify that why this is a problem and what will happen if, let's suppose, if company sort this out, right? So 6 points you have to write for 12 marks, and 6 points means one. Let's suppose it's talking about a problem, so there should be 6 problems, and every problem should be followed by identification, followed by the justification. So you have to keep this thing in your mind before even starting the reading of question, right? So it will reduce your what you can say. Uh, I mean, there is a fear of writing 13 marks. It's not 13 marks, it's just 6 points. That's it, right? Because 1 mark is for the definition, right? Now let's start with the question. Okay. Company information. Coruisk is a clothing manufacturer in Thailand which produces a range of dresses which it sells to Erich, right? So what the company is doing, company is manufacturing clothing in Thailand, which produces a range of dresses which it sells to the Erich, right? The range of dresses are the only products which Coruisk produces, and Erich is its only customer. So can we identify any problem in this line? What can be the problem? The problem can be that the range of dresses are the only product. So probably we have a certain range, and with, I mean, apart from that range, we don't have any other product, right? And the most interestingly, Erich is its only customer. So that means you don't have any other option to sell your product in case something went wrong with Erich. So these are two extreme risks which company is facing, right? Erich is a well-known retailer in Thailand. Now, the question is not talking about the company, our company. The question is talking about Erich. And who is Erich? Erich is the customer, right? Erich is a well-known retailer in Thailand. Erich has recently been affected by changes in consumer purchasing preferences to buying clothes online, and as a result is keen to reduce inventory holding as a way of reducing its cost. So this is not us. This is our customer. Our customer is actually facing a problem where the customer want to reduce the inventory holding as a way of reducing its cost. Heritage is also finding that it has an excess of goods which it has to discount as consumer tastes appear to change more quickly than the past. And Heritage is also facing a problem that it has to sell certain products at a discounted rate. So that is basically a little bit about your customer. It's not about your company, it's about the company with whom you are doing the business, right? Now, what is the current purchasing policy? Now, we are back to the company, right? Coruisk currently obtains its raw material from 4 suppliers, right? Each of these supplier operates differently in terms of processes and procedures which they adopt in trading with the Coruisk. The Coruisk has been agreeable to this as the quality of the raw material supplied has generally been acceptable. Now, just take 2 minutes and try to think Is there any problem with this paragraph? Is there any problem which you can highlight in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Mm, we as a company, we have 4 different suppliers,
Mm-hmm.
and each one of them their own trading systems, if I may say.
Hmm. Each having different system, and they are saying differently in terms of processes and procedures which they adopt in trading with the coursing. So maybe some suppliers are offering you lead time of 20 days. Some suppliers are offering you lead time of 10 days. Some supplier, maybe a supplier will tell you that, okay, fine, if you place an order today, we will just dispatch your raw material tomorrow in a day or maybe maximum 2 days, right? Maybe they have different terms in terms of quality management or anything. But the point is, things are not standardized, right? So if things are not standardized, that means what? That means probably you have to cater for different requirements of each supplier. And that sometimes create problem in because sometimes you may make mistakes in ordering or maybe dealing with supplier, right? So that can be an issue. Corsic has been agreeable to this as the quality of the raw material supplied has generally been acceptable. If the question is saying that the quality of raw material supplied has generally been acceptable, what do you think? What it shows? Do you think it shows that yes, the quality is fine, or do you think that the quality is like okay, fine, we are accepting this, but maybe it's a better quality product, but okay, fine, we will accept it. So, what do you think?
I think it's more like fine, we'll just accept it. We just
Yeah,
accept
we are accept
yeah.
we are accepting it. We are accepting it, but maybe there is some problem. But okay, fine. We say okay, fine. If there is just 2% defect is there, okay, fine. Still we accept because 98% material is fine, right? So it's not a lot. I mean, nothing much about this point is given in the question, but somehow we can have the from the tone we can have an idea that this can be a problem, right? More recently, however, the Corsic has found reasons to question the accuracy and the quality of raw material delivered from one supplier, right? Additionally, another supplier. So there is a supplier I mean, Corsic has found some reasonable, maybe some evidences which to question the accuracy and the quality of raw material delivered from one supplier. So they want to question accuracy. Accuracy is in terms of quantity, and quality is, of course, we know the quality. So they believe that there is some problem with one supplier regarding the quality and quantity both. Additionally, another supplier. So we are talking about another supplier. We have 4 suppliers. Out of 4 suppliers, we have problem with one supplier with respect to the quality and the quantity. And another supplier now only dispatches material to Corsic in full load quantities as it wishes to optimize the use of its delivery vehicles. Do you know what is full load? Full load means that we will supply you 100%. I mean, if the truck capacity, trawler capacity is, let's suppose, 10,000 meters, then we will supply you 10,000 meter. We will not supply you anything less, right? Do you think it's a problem for companies?
Yes, it is.
Because because what if we don't need them? What if we don't need that raw material? Why? Because my customer wants to reduce its cost, and probably my customer will uh, place small orders. So if my customer will place small orders, what I will do with that material? Number one. Number two, the customer of my customer, like there was something written about the fashion or something. Yeah, customer tastes appear to change more quickly than in the past. So my customer's customer is actually changing there is a change, right? So it means that maybe in the next batch something different will be required from Edit, from our company. So what we will do with that material, right? So again, there is a problem with these two. So there are out of four suppliers, we got issues with two suppliers, right? So that's something related to purchasing policy, right? Current production method. Now we are focusing on production method. The performance metric at the performance metric at Coruisk for production efficiency is the number of dresses produced per period. The company's method of production, Coruisk method of production, is to produce individual dresses in long production run, which has helped in maximizing the output. So how they are measuring their performance? Performance metric is what? Based on production efficiency, is the number of dresses produced per period. That means we are communicating to our labor that the more you produce, it's good for the company because it will increase the overall volume and you will get bonuses accordingly, right? That's what we are doing, right? And how they are producing it, they are producing in long production runs, which has helped them to maximizing output. So we are producing maximum output per batch probably, so that we can maximize the output. Do you think it's okay in current situation? It's okay because now right now we want to produce maximum output. But in case my customer, which is Eric, if my customer moves to JIT, then probably this will not make sense because in that case, producing maximum output is not going to be a good idea. Why? Because the requirement will be reduced. There will be less requirement. Order size will be lower quantity, right? So it's something which needs to be changed if we will move to JIT. If my customer will move to JIT. Now, staff working. Now, this paragraph is for you. Probably you have to identify issues. Staff working in the production department have their bonuses based on this metric. Which metric? This performance metric of producing number of dresses produced, right? Goods which have not been produced to the required standards have traditionally been rejected at the end of the production process, right? Do you find any problem in this line? First of all, reread this line and try to understand what this line means. And then think, is there any problem?
Hi, yes, there is a problem because um, they're saying that traditionally goods have only been rejected at the end of the production. So if we are to introduce just in time, it won't be feasible to only reject items at the end of the production line. Because remember, we are only limited by the quality that our customer has requested from us.
Exactly. So it means that because see, what is the problem? Let's suppose that let's suppose we have this bottle, right? And when the production process was 20, there we know that whenever the production process is 20% complete, and when we shift it to the next process for the second process, there is a loss. Generally, that's the time where your product gets defective. So technically, you should put a check, a control check just after that process so that despite of completing the product and then we figuring out that the product got lost or there is a defect in the product, it should be detected then and there so that we can sort it out. Or in case we are unable to do any rework, we don't need to put remaining 80% factors of production and then identifying, oh my God, this product got lost, right? Secondly, if the customer is JIT, like you said, that if the customer is moving to JIT, then that means we have to make sure that we provide RH, or if if the customer moves to JIT, then we need to provide them goods at the required time period. So if we have to submit it at 30th January, and we figure out later phase that okay, fine, there is a loss of product, we need to reproduce it, and that will take time. Right? Perfect. Corsic Production Control Manager has indicated you. Now there is another thing. Corsic Control Manager has indicated that to you that the current production methods have been successful, as the company only has 5% of goods returned from RH due to poor quality. Can you identify what's wrong with this statement?
It's the last line that the company has confirmed that um, they have 5% of the goods which have been returned due to poor quality. And like we have said, that if our client is to get into GIT, that we shouldn't even consider having 1% of poor quality. So quality shouldn't be compromised at all.
Exactly. And the worst part is that production manager believes that the current production methods have been successful. So he is thinking that 5% losses are fine. And he believes that, because see, if I cannot see any problem in something, I won't be able to do anything with that. I can improve only when I see a problem in any process, right? So probably he's thinking that 5% defects are fine. He will not do anything to improve it. That's the problem,
Yes.
right? And again, we have only one customer, and that customer wants to, reduce the keen to reduce his inventory holding. So he will definitely ask us to supply on immediate basis, right? So in that case, it's going to be extremely disastrous for the company. Now, GID and cost of quality. RH, again, we are talking with respect to customer, right? RH would like to move to JIT system of purchasing its good from Corsic, right? This is a very important line. The board of Corsic has asked you for help, right, as a management consultant to advise. Now, from here, probably the question is starting the requirement part. To advise as to how the company may have to change its approach to the areas of purchasing and production to prepare itself for producing to GID principle. Now, here I generally advise students to read the requirement again to see what you have to do for your for in the paper, basically, right? So you have to advise how the company may have to change its approach to the areas of purchasing and production to prepare itself for producing to JIT principles. So we are not moving to JIT. My customer is moving to JIT, and we need to identify how we are supposed to change our system to help or to cater the only customer we have, right? This is the requirement, right? Now, then the next part, let's read the whole question and then we will start answering the question. The CEO does not believe that the company will encounter any problem in adapting to RH requirement. Now, the CEO, first it was, let me try to highlight this with a different color. First, it was production control manager who believes that the production process is well. Now, CEO does not believe that the company will encounter any problem in adapting to RH requirement. and has told you that we have very good quality control practices and procedures in place and are confident that we are consistently supplying goods which are required at an acceptable price at the high quality. Our practice of testing goods at the final stage of production and before they leave the factory support this. So he believes that what uh, he believes that our process of identifying or doing the inspection at the last phase of the production is okay. Right? Our practice of testing good at the final stage of production and before they leave the factory support this. Right? So he is living in some other world probably. The Coruisk CEO has also made available to you a list of costs. This is something we will discuss later at the end of the question, right? It doesn't relate to this part, right? So this means we need to question this also, that your quality manager and your probably CEO both believe that everything is fine, but actually things are not that good, right? So let's move back to the requirement. We said that you have to write for 12 marks, right? Now, for 12 marks, try to understand how to write your answer because sometimes writing also matters, right? The question says that you have to advise advise as to how the company may have to change its approach to the areas of purchasing and production, right? You have to focus on two areas, purchasing and production. And if you see the question, in question, the examiner also has given you two separate parts. One part is relating to purchasing policy, and one part is relating to production methods, right? So that means what? That means probably how you have to structure your answer. You have to start with the definition of JIT, right? For 1 mark. Then you have to focus on what was the requirement? Change its approach to change in purchasing system or approach, whatever you want to put a heading. And then you have to focus on change in production method. Or maybe you can write production. That's it. It will cover all, right? And what we wrote there in the requirement section, we said that you have to cover 6 points, right? So if you have to cover 6 points, then 3 points. I'm just giving you a basic idea. Maybe in one heading you can find four, in one heading you can find two, right? It's not always equal, but 3 points from purchasing and 3 points from production, right? So you have to identify the problem and then how you need to change that approach, how you are supposed to change it, right? So 1 mark is for the identification of the issue and 1 mark is for to identify the change, and then you can also write that what will be the benefit from it, right? So that's basically how you need to work. So from out of 13 marks, now we know that we need to identify 3 points and then 3 points, right? So Uh, can we identify 3 points, three separate points from this part, right? I'm giving you 2 minutes to just list down 3 points, right? And sorry. We are focusing on purchasing first, sorry. I'm giving you 3 minutes to just focus on this part and try to only list down three problems which we discussed, and then we will proceed. Two to three problems, because maybe we can find some more problems in production. So whatever you think. Or maybe you can think what you will write in those points.
Okay, noted. Under purchasing, the first one is that we have 4 different suppliers. Then
The first one is what?
we have 4 different suppliers. Of each suppliers operate differently, so it won't be something that we should consider if we are to change to just in time. Then another reason we have find out that one of our suppliers, the quality of materials that they have been supplying to us is questionable. Another supplier only dispatches material to us in a full load. So that alone is something that we shouldn't carry
Okay.
on with.
Okay. I got your point, right? So we got 3 points. The first point is we have 4 suppliers with different processes, right? Then we need to make sure that quality, we need a quality assurance, because quality assurance, and then there is a quantity management. Now, these are three, you identify 3 points. Now you have to justify that why this is important, right? And then since the question says that question is trying to how the company may have to change its approach. So how to change? Only then you will get 6 months, right? So 4 suppliers with different processes. Why this is a problem? Because we have to, because Corsic has to deal with the requirements or with the processes of all 4 customers. So considering the fact that we are focusing on GIT, we cannot afford to have uh, problems or maybe some mistakes in supplying. So if we have 1 or 2 suppliers, it will be easier for Corsic to deal, or and how we can change, how what change we can bring is we need to make some standard processes with the suppliers, because that will reduce the probability of mistake, right? So why this is important and what will be the change, what change approach is required. If you write these 3 things in your answer, you will get 2 marks for this, right? And then quality assurance. Quality assurance, why quality is important? Quality is important. Company Corsic also needs to make sure the quality which it is accepting from the customer is up to the mark, or whatever word you want to choose, is up to the mark, or is I'm not getting the word, is up to the mark. Because now I'm trying to answer why. Because if the raw material, if there is a problem in raw material quality, it will be difficult for labor to process, or maybe the quality of finished goods will hamper, and it will increase the rejection rate from, it will increase the rejection rate, or maybe it will be difficult for RH to deal with those things, because um, RH has moved to GIT. So providing them with a bad quality, or then, or maybe reworking at the end of the production process doesn't make sense, right? And then quantity management is important. Why? Because if we get a lot of material and we are unable to use it, in that case, we will be left with extra inventory. So the company needs to communicate this thing to the supplier, that why they need some low quantity of material. They cannot accept excessive quantity of material, because they don't have enough use of it, maybe, probably, right? So you need to negotiate with the supplier, and if the supplier doesn't agree, you can change the supplier, right? or you can work with three suppliers, right? But again, you can balance your answer. But again, if you are working with only two supplier, it also increases the risk of it also increases the risk that what if one of those suppliers get get a problem in supplying raw material, the company will have no backup, right? So it's good that you have four suppliers, but you should need to standardize things, you need to communicate them quality, you need to manage quantity, right? So that's how we are going to write the answer, right? And let me try to show you, there are two ways how I wrote the answer. This is the first way, right? Without the heading of purchasing and production, right? But this is not a good idea to write your answer like this, because the examiner is specifically asking you to deal with respect to production and purchases both separately, right? The second thing is, this is basically how I wrote the same answer, but with two different headings, right? One heading is purchasing in supplier, the second heading is production, right? So let me try to read this for you, how we are writing a single point. I will share this answer with you as well, but just try to focus on how I have written the answer. Corsic current Corsic uh, Corsic currently purchases from four different suppliers, each with own unique procedures. This lack of a standardization can lead to additional time and error. So that's basically why factor, that why this is important. Establishing a unified purchasing procedure is necessary to streamline the process and enhance the efficiency, right? And of course, there will be less error. So it's not going to be 1 mark. It's most probably will give you 2 marks, one for the identification and one for to give you the idea of how this is going to improve it, right? Okay. When producing GIT principles, supplier will effectively be an extension of Corsic own business. Therefore, Corsic must understand how changes in supplier's operation will affect its operation. Currently, Corsic lacks at this level of relationship with its suppliers. For example, a supplier optimizing the cost of its delivery vehicle might engage in practices that conflict with the requirement of GIT principle. It is crucial to inform supplier that Corsic is transiting to a GIT system, requiring them to deliver goods within a specified time frame. This change will help the company to maintain a smooth production flow without delays due to material shortages. So you need to tell them time period, you need to tell them quantity. And also there's a Y factor is missing here. You need to add that Y factor also, that this is important because it will because the company cannot have excessive quantity of raw material, right? Under GIT system, the organization operates with zero inventory levels. Therefore, accepting low quality materials can increase production lead times and delay customer order, right? So that's basically another point we identified, and why this is important, we identified that too, like what it will cost, right? Why this is a problem. To maintain efficiency, supplier must adhere to specific quality standard. Corsic needs to spend time defining and agreeing on the requirements with supplier and clarifying expectations in terms of both quality and quantity, right? And this is basically, if you write till here, probably you are done with the requirements, right? Next, if you are writing, that's adding your probability of getting more marks, right? For example, suppliers unwilling to meet the company's terms and conditions should be replaced with reliable ones. Management should consider incentivizing supplier to comply with company quality requirements for raw materials, right? This is done by Toyota when it says that, okay, fine, we will have some specific suppliers and we will ask them to supply material for the whole year. So we are going to be a bulk customer for them, a huge customer for them. So probably they will take care of us, right? So that's basically how you need to write the answer. You cannot just write these 3 points here and you said that we are done with the question. No. First, identification of point. Second, the justification of the point, that why you think that there is a problem. And third is basically to deal with the concept that the customer, that examiner has asked you to advise how the system needs to be changed. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
See, the question is not difficult. If you see the whole question, this is a past paper question of APM. The question is not difficult. The question is very simple, right? And you will find a similar, unless and until there is an examiner is quite angry with the student and he gave you a very difficult question. Generally, the scenario, like even if you don't know anything about JIT, you have a very little knowledge about JIT, you can still do this. The most important thing is to write a relevant answer. And relevant answer will include all at least these two components.
Yes, ma'am. I think the problem I have with APM is answering the questions, especially since they have introduced this professional mask. Marks.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, because they want to see how you deal with the requirement. If you are
Yes.
not, if you're not, if you're not respecting this part, then definitely you will lose marks, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I will take just 15 minutes here more to complete this production method. We will we will read the answer, and then we will finish today's session. As I said, the main idea is to tell you how to write the answer. Okay. The performance metric. Now, the problem with what are the problems with this part? See, the first problem we have identified is the performance metric, right? So again, you cannot only write this is the problem. Why performance metric is a problem? Why this is a problem? Because this is based on the number of dresses. This is dependent upon the quantity of dresses. And probably in future, um, since we will follow JIT, for us, quality is more important because they are saying that the 5% of goods returned due to poor quality. So there are chances that that your labor is not producing a good output. And that's the reason behind this 5% goods return, right? So, so in future, your labor need to focus more on quality and efficiency. Why efficiency? Because in JIT, you have a very limited time. So if you produce good quality output within a specific time, you will be a successful supplier to RH. If you will delay, despite of the fact how quality product you are producing, it's not going to work. If you are producing on time, but the quality is not good, it's not going to make sense for RH, right? So why this is a problem? Because it focuses on the quantity, right? Quantity of dresses plus there is a continuous change in fashion. So now in GIT, labor need to focus on quality and efficiency both, right, in order to have a good output, right? The second thing which they need to change, as you said before, that you need to understand that the this rejection part, production control manager has indicated to you that current production method is because 5% of goods returned from RH, right? So mm, probably you have to write this before, right? I mean, first point should be the quality of output, quality of dresses, right? So quality of dresses means that you need to make sure you need to do the quality inspection. First of all, you need to produce the good quality at first point, right? And do the quality inspection where the chances of defects high. I'm writing very badly here. Because when where there are defects, you need to inspect at that time. So that makes sure that okay, fine, we don't consume more resources on a bad product, right? So this is so improving the quality, again, improving the quality makes sense. And then you can write the performance target. That sequence is a better one, right? And then the third thing is you need to do is what is given here. Mm, Yeah. And the next thing which you need to do is to change the perception of management, right? Or maybe you need to focus on change the perception of management in the sense that management is right now management in the sense that this quality who is he production quality production control manager, production control manager, and the CEO both believe that the company is producing a good quality product, right? But actually they are not. And why this is important? Because if you believe that you are not producing a good output, only then you can change, right? So that perception also matters, right? So again, um, writing a point, that why factor, and what you need to change, right? So that's basically how you should write the answer. In 30 minutes, I will share its answer scripts with you so that you can read it. And if you want, you can write this answer in your own word and you can share it with me as well so that I can tell you what improvements you need to do in your answers, right? Because it's quite fresh in your mind, so you can do it, right? So I'm not
Yes.
doing this quality part. Quality part you can check at Coruisk. I think it's given at the LMS, so you can check the last part from there. But this is something which I really wanted to discuss. And one more thing, if you see the marking scheme now, in marking scheme, see this point. So if you don't write the description of GIT, you will lose this 1 mark.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then and then when it say 1 mark per point, students sometimes think that okay, fine, you have to list down 12 points. Dude, you will not find 12 points from the question. 1 mark per point means 1 mark for the identification and 1 mark for the justification and the change which you are processing, which you are proposing, right? So that's basically how you are supposed to write, right? And then this part that balance and reason assessment, that in case you think that there can be a bad impact, like suppose if you're writing that instead of having 4 suppliers, the company can move with 2 suppliers so that they can have less supplier lean process and all these things. But the problem with that, but company needs to properly manage those 2 suppliers, because in case of no backup, company can have a risk of get out of material or something like that. So that's how you can balance that. Even if you are proposing something, there is a risk in that. So company needs to make sure that if it controls this, it's going to work, right? So that's basically, and then skepticism says demonstration of effective challenge of the assumption of both the production manager and the CEO. So what we did, so the basic idea of professional marks is that if you do the question properly, you will get professional marks. Like if we what we suggested is challenging the assumption of the CEO, and that's something which skepticism means, right? So if you do the question well, you will earn these marks, right? So that's basically what I wanted to do in today's session, right? So in the next session will be on 4th of January. We will start with section A. So we'll do the do's and don'ts of questions from section A, because that require communication skill as well. Here you don't have communication skill. In section A, we have communication skill as well. So you need to properly draft a report and write a proper answer, right?
Okay. Noted.
Okay. Do you have any question?
Mm, no, ma'am. I don't have any questions.
Okay, so you will get all these materials, written materials. I will share it at WhatsApp, and I will also upload it at LMS. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.